Welcome back to the Finer Things, darlings. If you're new here, pull up a velvet chair. This is where elegance puts on her silk gloves, wit pours the champagne, and propriety occasionally winks at you from across the room. Everything we do here is rooted in the finer code. My philosophy and now new book here on living beautifully, gracefully, intelligently, and with just a hint of delicious audacity. Why not? We don't have to be boring, darlings. You can find the link in the description or simply scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you to all my worlds, or I would say the Finer Things universe, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and my Substack, where I'll be posting more of these long-form cultural explorations, complete with images to linger over. And tonight we begin something special, a little bit different from usual, so bear with me. As part of the Aristocrats project, which is a cultural project but very, very fun, and we will talk about it in January. I have to put some signatures on some papers first. I'm opening my private collection of Edwardian Christmas magazines. Original, fragile, intoxicating detail, and I'm inviting you to sit here with me in my library and novel booth. The fire is crackling, the Christmas tree is glowing, and outside the world is cold and frantic, but in here we are traveling to 1904. Now let me tell you a secret about magazines. Books tell us how people aspire to be. Magazines tell us how actually they lived. Magazines are where women confided their little truth, their insecurities, their ambitions, their recipes, their flirtations with fashion. They were the Substack newsletter of their days, or blogs, if you want to call them in a 90s term. The Instagram story is written in elegant script, no Shakespearean monologues, no dusty academic tones, just women talking to women exactly as we do now. Tonight's journey begins with a jewel from my archive. New Idea Women's Magazine, Christmas 1904. This is not one of the most famous magazines, but it's a little compact treasure. It's 65 pages, so not so small, brimming with a world so complete, so gorgeously curated that one almost forgets that it's just a magazine and it's not a book. These Edwardian magazines were not casual reading, you see. They were cultural companions. They were poured over, collected, clipped, shared, and whispered about over tea. My collection is usually made of, hundreds of these magazines that have been put into books because they were collected for reference. And this one, this Christmas issue, is particularly decadent because by 1904, the world of women's magazines had blossomed into something magnificent. Victorian seriousness was fading. I have other magazines from earlier periods, and I can tell you that. Edwardian glamour was taking over. Print houses were experimenting with color, with lace-like illustration. Very, very vivid, with fashion plates so detailed a dressmaker could nearly stitch from them. The tone was lighter, more modern, more feminine, without losing that delicious edge of society hierarchy that was still valid, of course. And make no mistake, darlings, this magazine was not written for the middle class, I think. This one speaks to the upper crust, women who floated between Fifth Avenue because it was published in New York, drumming rooms, so Fifth Avenue drumming rooms, and maybe Newport and London season receptions, women who spent their winters at teas, dinners, musicals, and charity balls. But we can dream with them. We can see what they were doing. So you can feel it in the way the writers describe a gown. You can feel it in the way the hostess etiquette is framed. You can feel it in the way Christmas itself is imagined, not modestly, but with orchestras of lace and velvet and candlelight. This is why this particular issue, struck me the moment I opened it. It's glamorous, yes, but it's also deeply alive. It hops from fashion to recipes, from literature to etiquette, and then suddenly lands us inside two of the most intoxicating sections, and that's what we're talking about today. The London Diary, written by a woman who moved through the English season, nevertheless, with the easy confidence of someone who knows every duchess by name, and clearly I think she does. She names a few. And then the Paris letter, penned by a comtesse, naturally, because who else would dare report on Parisian fashion at Christmas? These correspondents were the influencers of their age, long before TikTok transitions, Lord save us, or thumbnails promising, you won't believe this gown, just buy it, the link is here. No. They wrote in lace, they wrote in perfume, they wrote in observations so sharp and feminine that reading them now feels like eavesdropping on history itself. And if you're feeling a touch of Downton Abbey deja vu, actually you should, not just because the Aristocrat project is linked to Downton Abbey, but because this is the Lady Edith energy at its purest. Women with pens, women with opinions, women who were documenting their world quietly but powerfully. They were the chroniclers of elegance, recording every ruffle, every carriage ride, every whispered social triumph. This, darling, is the world we're stepping into tonight, because it's nice for Christmas to do something a little bit different. A world of velvet and tinsel, of London fog and Paris satin, of women who live at the intersection of refinement and ambition. And now that we have set our scene, Noblewood's Library behind us, 1904 before us, we may finally open the magazine and let the correspondents speak. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, a new kind of woman emerged in publishing in general, because publishing before was for men. There were some magazines for ladies, but always published by men. The fashion correspondent, half journalist, half socialite, half cultural diplomat, and yes, darling, in this world I think you can be absolutely allowed to have a third half. These women were poised at the crossroads of beauty, intellect, and access, necessarily. They were, in general, well-born or well-connected, moving effortlessly through the drawing rooms and promenade of the fashionable world. They were educated, often fluent in French, the language of the aristocracy. It's still there now. Royal menus, even in Buckingham Palace, are written in French. Socially mobile, drifting between London, Paris, and sometimes New York with the seasons. Sharp observers attuned to every hemline, every stable stole, every shifting etiquette code. And then modern women in the Edwardian sense, women who worked, wrote, commented, influenced, gatekeepers of taste, shaping what thousands of readers understood as elegance. They lived in a world of, I would say, carriage wheels on wet cobblestones. Think about London or Newport, lacquered invitation to musicals and charity balls, dressmaker salons perfumed with violet and steam-pressed velvet. Fashion houses unveiling gowns like operatic set pieces. Cafes where secrets were discussed under birdcage hats. And the cost and harm of the season will require an entire video on its own or more. But the season, with all its triumphs, missteps, and whisper scandals. So the season with the capital S. And after observing it all, they wrote in hotel rooms, in rented flats, in the quiet of a library alcove, in the morning after a ball, maybe sipping their tea, crafting their dispatches for magazines in London, Paris, or, in our case, New York. Imagine it, a woman stepping out in a handsome cab in Mayfair, brushing the fog from her sleeve like powdered sugar, then sitting at a narrow desk to write a column that will travel across the Atlantic, reaching American women hungry for a taste of old world glamour. There's nothing more cinematic than this. That is the alchemy of these correspondents. They were the original lifestyle influencers, before cameras, before reels, before get ready with me. No, bless their heart. And their audience, women who wanted not only fashion, but a window into a life lived beautifully. And now we are going to the London fashion day by day. So we are here now with Claire, and she let us begin in London, because London at Christmas is not a city, it's a sensation. It's the perfume of pine and ceiling wax drifting from townhouses, the pounding of horses' hooves on wet cobblestones, and Bond Street windows sparkling like jeweled opera glasses. Our London correspondent, Claire van Amberstein, opens her diary on a December Friday with a confession that feels deliciously familiar. She says, "Despite the evidence of my calendar, I find that it requires a mental effort to realize that Christmas is here again." Oh, goodness. Aren't we all saying the same when it's December and we're like, oh my goodness, it's already Christmas. It was October yesterday. Claire, we understand you. A woman after our own hearts. Forever glamorous, forever slightly behind schedule. And yet the city refuses to let her forget the season. Crowds bustling through every shop. The brave array, as she says, of fat turkeys and prime oxen. And Arabella, her dancing friend. Yes, Arabella. Hard at work dressing mysterious brown paper parcels in secrecy and sealing wax. Now, I would love to be there and see what she put in these packages. Arabella, the first vision of Christmas. Claire describes Arabella the way Edith might describe a thoroughbred debutante. She's either inordinately busy or else absolutely idle. Okay, I want to be like that, a woman of extremes, and today a woman of vision. Arabella appears in a negligee so divine that Claire admits it excites the feelings of covetous admiration in my breast. I reproduce this with the eye, and trust me, I made Baha'i behave because it was not behaving. So you will see all this in real time. Fashion of amethyst color chiffon velvet, it fastened invisibly with cords of tinsel gold beneath a narrow band of ivory cream, guipure insertion, embroidered in silver thread and studded with small turquoises. The sleeves alone, she writes, are rows of gauging that reach from the waist to just beyond the hips. Long, important sleeves. Say what you will about Edwardian fashion, these women knew how to make an entrance in their own dressing rooms. It must appear, darling, because in 1904 London, being well-dressed was practically a civic duty. It was actually sending signals to your community because that was the moment where you were out in public. And Claire recounts a few like a new Russian sable coat acquired by Arabella, one that tapers to a V in front, finished with ropes of knotted brown silk and tassels of Irish crochet. It's paired outrageously with a broad scarf of pink chiffon. Let it just there. Imagine this. So someone walking to Atras and Fortune swathed in sable and fur. Yet, that is precisely the world our correspondent lived in, a world where shopping was not an errand but a social occasion, a form of theater. On Bond Street that afternoon, Claire also encounters a woman in a tightly fitting coat of cream astrakhan, trimmed in black satin, gold braid, ivory cord, and velvet, complete with cords and tassels that bounce as she walks. And Claire writes, "So much that I admire her toilette that I consider a sketch of it worthy to adorn this page." So yes, on the page, it's here, I'm putting this on, there is only one illustration for that, so I provided the other ones with AI. It's the Victoria equivalent of stopping a stranger to ask, "Excuse me, where did you find your coat?" Only instead of a selfie, she introduced a full illustrated fashion plate. So of course, she had the illustrator at hand, and he provided the illustration. The Men of London, Fred and Monty. Of course, Monty is Montgomery and Fred is Frederick. No Edwardian society letter would be complete without a pass remark about the men, and Claire delivers with the dry wit of a woman who has endured too many dinner parties. I think she knew what she wanted. She describes Fred, a recent suitor, as big, brown, and sportsmanlike, the most solid person I know. Solid. And yet she cannot resist adding, "I recollect a day when Julia could see no goodness in anything masculine that was not represented by languishing blue eyes set in a face that was a compromise between the painter's conception of King Arthur and the barber's block." Let it sink. Darlings, the shade. A woman in 1904 could not openly call a man dull. Or maybe she could, but with a friend. But she could imply he resembled a mannequin. So yes, that part goes. And then there is Monty, who mutters upon seeing a beautiful brunette at dinner, "Few women are as beautiful as they are painted." Monty Montgomery would not last 5 minutes here, no one was with me. Or maybe some more because I can have some fun. I'm not sure. Okay, so man, oh man, they were the same. Then Saturday, here we go. By Saturday, Claire is overcome with inspiration for a Christmas centerpiece. I'll try to put this in AI as well. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do it. Because she envisioned a sheet of frosted glass, cotton snow sprinkled with scarlet berries, trails of ivy, spiky sprays of holly, Santa Claus driving a sleigh around every part of the snow circle, so it should be a circle, and clusters of candles in clear crystal vases. She declares her miniature landscape like an old world gown of white flounces with a broad lace border. I'll try to design it for you. A table as an opera costume, naturally, because, she has dinner parties at Christmas and she's creating an entire little winter wonderland. Then on Wednesday, the Francesca incident. Then comes Wednesday and Claire meets Francesca, a charming but utterly impractical friend, for Christmas shopping. Francesca insists on buying a hat. Claire tries diplomatically to dissuade her. And the result? This is, I think, we can tattoo this somewhere. It was a very expensive sacrifice. These words were velvet thunder, really. A line that could be stitched on a cushion in every dressing room in Belgravia and possibly in your closet or your bedroom too. And then her signature. The London section closes in the only acceptable way for an Edwardian correspondent. Of course, her name is Claire van Hammerstein. A name that sounds like a woman who knows where to buy the best ostrich plumes in the city and is not afraid to say so. Certainly, she was witty and she was not afraid to say things to Fred, Monty, or the rest of the world. And now we go to Paris. We cross the channel. So from London's holly-scented bustle to Paris, the city does not celebrate Christmas so much as curated, and you will see such an important shift. So yes, the channel is in between, but there's much more than that. It's really a cultural shift. Our Paris correspondent, the Comtesse de Vigne, begins her letter with the confidence of a woman who knows that the world eyes rest upon her city. She said, Paris is, of course, the most enjoyable place in the world this season. I have to agree sometimes, yeah. Of course, Paris never apologizes. Not in 1904, not in 2025, not ever. And now we're going to talk about the princess robe, a Parisian obsession. She tells us that every fashionable Parisian is wearing a princess robe. So what is a princess robe? Is a dress with long uninterrupted lines, no waist seam, gracefully molded to the figure, draped in panaches and swags of chiffon, sleeves that folds like soft echoes, and always trimmed in lace so delicate it borders on indecent. She writes, the princess robe gives a long, graceful line, a silhouette that seems to float. So these ladies are gliding, not even walking. So we can say, if London dresses women in structure, Paris dresses them in vapor. A return of the crinoline, but only in Paris. So you know crinoline. Crinoline was like this big cage that was making, gowns big. But then she delights us with the tantalizing revelation. The crinoline is coming back, but not as you think. Not the Victorian cage crinoline, heaven forbid, but a whisper one, a shadow of volume created by petticoats edged with horse hair, giving skirts just the right flare. Imagine the swish, darling, the soft take of silk brushing a parquet floor. And then the opera wrap, a Parisian night in cloth. She describes an opera wrap worn by a woman at the Opéra Comique. Opéra Comique, not opera, because we are in France. Opéra Comique, a vision in black Liberty satin, lined with jonquil yellow, trimmed with chinchilla, sleeves gathered into cascade, a collar shaped like the petals of a great lily. The Comtesse writes it was a poem rather than a garment. And I have to say, from the picture I created, yeah, it really is. Paris always know how to dress a woman for a night of music, as if she too were part of the performance. And then we have the Parisienne herself, a study, because she's giving us a sociological view. After listing the fashions, she gives us the most important insights of all, The Parisian is the best dressed woman in the world because dressing well is her religion. Mhm. It is a philosophy, the harmony of line, the study of proportion, the sparkle of wit and essential as the sparkle of brooch. She adds, she dresses with intelligence, not extravagance. I think this is a perfect line for the final coat, darling. It's so modern today. And even if there is a quarrel between Italians and French on who is most fashionable, I have to say French know what they're doing. And now we go to one of my favorite parts. You have to really listen to this. The mysterious mannequin of the Rue de la Paix. So mannequins are the models of the time. Of course, they were going into salons, the ladies, and they were seeing these smaller round fashion shows on the runway in the salon. So to describe the mannequin of the couture houses, not today's model, but the original ones, living sculptures as tall, narrow-waisted, ethereal, trained to glide, not walk, hair coiled like Grecian goddesses, faces serene but unreadable. Naomi, what do you think? She also writes, there are ghosts, beautiful ghosts, that haunt the salon of Paris. One mannequin in particular, known as La Fantôme, moves so silently that clients swear she's made not of flesh but of moonlight. And here, let's all pause. Darling, only the French would give a fashion model a name that belongs in a novel. I would love to be called made of moonlight. I need to go on a diet first, though, I guess. Anyway, she ends her letter with a stroll along the Rue de la Paix. Windows are filled with ermine stoles. Yes, like monarchs wearing fur. Hats dripping with ostrich plumes. Glows perfumed with heliotrope. Toy shops with wooden horses and dolls in velvet capes. And everywhere the soft bellowed shop doors opening and closing. Can you just feel it? Are you in there? She writes, Paris at Christmas is like a jewel box, and every street is a different gem. And with that, she signs her name, Comtesse de Vigne. I mean, she's not a renowned author, but how poetic she is. This is her talent. A woman who has certainly never stood in a queue in her life, I'm sure. And so, darlings, as we gently close this 1904 Christmas magazine, we return to the present, a present where elegance still matters, perhaps more than ever. But now we have this knowledge in ourselves, right? It's something empowering. Tonight we step into London and Paris, not to escape our world, but to understand it more deeply. Because the finer things has never been about nostalgia, it's about continuity, how the grace, intelligence, social fluency of women before us can illuminate how we live today. That's the importance of etiquette, the importance of tradition and legacy. Our correspondent here, Claire Van Amerstein and the Comtesse de Vigne, were not simply fashion diarists. No, you understand that from the depth of what they were writing. They actually had soft skills, observing carefully, communicating beautifully, navigating society with poise, dressing not just the body but the life around it. This is what they were encompassing. And that, darlings, is the heart of the final coat. That's what it's in my book. That's what I talk about it here on this channel all the time. A modern philosophy of living, we are rooted in presence, etiquette, influence, cultural awareness, and the quiet power of being a woman who knows herself. We explore history in the Aristocrat project, but only to ask the modern question. How do we today step into rooms, physical or digital, with the same composure, curiosity, and brilliance? Yes, these women were brilliant, and you want to be like them. Because if they were, you can be too. If tonight's journey inspired you, remember that everything we explore here connects back to my book, The Final Code, where I teach a modern etiquette, elegant communication, emotional discipline, hosting, comportment, and the art of becoming a woman of influence in today's world. But you can find this also on every channel where you find me. And also, again, I put here the QR code on your screen, so it will take you to wherever you would like to go. And I would like to give some love to my Substack because I just started it and I'm going to write much more from now on. And I would like to write more also about these historical articles. So if you are interested in this and see want more of, and you want to see more of this, Substack is your place to connect with me. And also because some things are just fleeting like videos, but when you read something, you can save it, stays with you for longer. So thank you for joining me tonight in the Noble Boots Library, for listening, imagining, and stepping into 1904 with the eyes of a modern woman. Until next time, darlings, stay fabulous and chic as always. So from me, Claire, and the Comtesse, just say.